Hi, everybody, and welcome to the live stream that follows the finals of the Access Knowledge World Championship. A little bit of a different look today. We had some hurdles this week. We had to move the studio yesterday, and in the middle of our busiest season of the year, and so that was a bit of a challenge. And when we moved to the new studio last night, we found out that the internet is not fast enough to host a live stream. So welcome to my den. Not my first choice for where to hold a live stream, but we absolutely wanted to do it. So we're here. And also when we packed, we put the webcam in a place that we knew that it was important, and so it wouldn't get lost. And that is the classic curse of you put something and you knew it was important and you hid it from yourself and then you can't find it. So there's a webcam in a box somewhere. So we're using the webcam on the computer here. So a little bit of a different look today, but we're going to get through it. We got lots of people that are already here. Thank you so much for being here. Give us let us know in the comments what you're wanting to talk about today, where you're from, and how you felt about the final. We are going to put everybody on hold for just a second while we get some more folks online, and we will be jumping back in here in just a couple of minutes, and we'll get Doug on here, and we've got lots to get through today. We got a giveaway, and man, it's going to be fun. So hold on, we're going to be right back. Drinks, bathrooms, do what you got to do. Back in 3 minutes. Hey everybody, we are back. We've got a bunch of people already on here. A couple people want to say hello to right off the bat. General Robin is here. Thank you for being here. Carl is here. Dave DeJour, thanks for being here from Minnesota. Zach's here from Utah. Brian, General Hyde is here from the great state of Minnesota. We got an adept from California is here. Mr. Coffee from my kind of town, Chicago is. That is one of my favorite cities in the world. Ed needs to get used to the red shirt. Red is for victory. I don't know if you knew that or not. We've successfully created the second World Championship Series, and I'm pleased that it went well and that everybody's enjoying it. But it's been a long month, my friends. But we're excited to be here. Adept, I'm glad that this is your first time being able to catch us live. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate that. We've got some new members. Fantastic. We've got a new general that joined the ranks not that long ago. It's fantastic. Crati is here, and we appreciate that. Charles, good to see you. Thomas Mongo, I'm sure that's a French pronunciation that I'm slaughtering. My apologies. From French Quebec. Australia is here. Fantastic. From the Down Under. Great to see you. Lots of new folks joining the Discord channel from Australia and New Zealand, and so there's quite the community coming together down there. So we're really excited about that. So fantastic. Yes. So without any further ado, let's get my man Doug on the phone here and on the call, and everybody say hi to Doug. Hi, Doug.
Hey, Gary. It's good to see you, man.
All right, it is good to be seen. There was some doubt as to whether or not this was going to happen today. We've had it's been, but you know, we get the glockenspiel to get us rolling here. I like it.
Did you get rid of all your board games and sell them off and buy a piece of art? What do you got going on behind you there?
I did. This is actually a painting from a friend of mine, Jessica Stoddard. She painted this. It's actually Atlas. I don't know if you can see it. Atlas holding the world. Cool. So it's one of my favorite paintings, and we've had that for a long time. So, and in a pinch, it apparently doubles as a background for a live stream about Axis and allies. Who knew? Anyway,
if you scooted to your right a little bit, it'd be like he's holding your head.
I know. Let me just. There you go. There we go. I don't know. All right. So we have our first super chat from Murnook. Thank you very much. Doug, or maybe Doug has his first super chat. That's awesome. Excellent. Thank you, Murnook. We appreciate that. Very kind, very kind, very kind. Thanks for the support. Lots of interest in global in the chat already, which is very cool. And apparently the secret is out. Our next video, at least our next Axis and Allies video, will be the global final from 2024. So we're really excited about that. Lots of work ahead on that video. But I acquired a table specifically to be able to capture the entirety of that game at the same time. It's 4x10, and it's on wheels, and it's a massive thing. I'll have pictures that I'll drop in the Discord at some point, but it's going to be an undertaking. But we've got a couple of great folks that are going to help us out.
Are you using the normal global map or the new neoprene one that's bigger?
It's funny that you should mention that. Literally, in the 3 minutes while we were waiting for more folks to go, I got the email from Renegade saying that my order had shipped for the global map. So okay. I've got the 7-footer on the way. So it should be pretty good. So this is a good reminder, actually. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about this when we get into global. We're probably not going to spend a whole lot of time getting into so much of this today, but there is a separate tournament setup for global that was arranged by Greg Smory and Larry Harris for tournament play. And so when we start talking about that game and that setup for it, we're definitely going to dive into what those setup changes are. So the people that have been playing global at home and casually, they are, aware that that isn't where you normally think it would be. So, awesome. So, Doug, how are you feeling about the final? We've had a ton of people watching it, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting game in a lot of respects. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yes, 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 yes. As am I. I think we've got a lot of interest in this one. Man, it's already got 7,300 views. We put it out a little bit later last night than I wanted to, but it is currently the most popular of the World Championship videos that we've put out in the last month or so. So that's pretty cool. Yes, Kurt, you're absolutely right. The map is huge for global. The out of the box map is it's pretty damn big. But when you add in the deluxe mat, I think it's 7 feet by 3.5 feet or something like that. It's
Something like that. Yeah.
yeah, it's a monster. So I needed to buy a 10-foot table in order to to be able to do it.
You have to have somewhere to like put your pieces and chips and dice. Like you can't put them
Right, and
all on the board.
yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be able to have enough space on either side for a dice box for people to
Yeah.
roll in and keep their pieces and stuff like that. Plus, I needed it to be big enough that I could do the camera mounts so that I can
Yeah.
set up lighting on it so that people can actually,
Yeah.
see what I'm taking pictures of. So we got another super
Yeah.
chat. Oh, go ahead,
Go
Doug.
ahead.
We got a super chat from David O'Brien. Thank you very much. $9.99. Thanks for the videos. Brings me back to playing the original from high school with my friends 25 years ago.
That's right.
Yes, 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 yes. I know precisely what you mean. It was a great one for us as well. Go ahead, Doug.
Oh, I was going to say it's a good thing you put a dice box on either end of the table. Otherwise, you spend half your time like walking to one end to roll your dice and back to remove the casualties. And
Yeah, that's how I get my
we
steps
ran out
in.
of
I
time
don't
after 2 rounds. I don't know why.
right, but they're in great shape. They walked 3 miles.
Yeah, exactly. That's
It's
right.
amazing.
I lost 15 pounds. It wasn't from stress.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So somebody wanted to talk about. Yeah. So real quick, somebody asked about some of the variants for global that are out there that are really popular. And let me say, when I say really popular, I mean like the people that have been in those kind of sub communities. I think that's probably the best explanation for them. They love them, and they've been developing with them since early on. So there's two of them out there that are really popular. One is from a guy named Young Grasshopper, and they actually have an event that is happening in May, I think. The Battle Duel in Dayton, I think is what it's called, and which is they get 30, 40 people for that every year, and it's a pretty popular event. And that's also the same rules that they use for a lot of the games that are played at Operation Seagull, which is in Provo, Utah. They're working on that now. I think it's probably going to be sometime in September. And that's awesome. And the other one that's a big one is BBR, or Bloodbath Rules. And they have 4 or 5 events a year. Jon Bosch, actually, who's moderating with us tonight, thank you, John, great to see you here, is knows a ton about it, and is a frequent competitor in those events. And I got a chance to play with him last March in St. Louis at an event, and had a great time. Super nice folks, and just it's a really interesting variant. I have not, and I should say I haven't had a chance to play the Young Grasshopper version yet, so I don't know. But the BBR rules are interesting. They are a lot, in that they are quite a bit. There's a significant overlay onto the global rules and significant modifications from the global rules. So it's almost a separate rule book on top of equal size of the global rule book. So the BBR rule book is 35, 40 pages on top of
Wow.
the global rules. So it's significant. But we have had a development here in the comments here. We have General Sap. Your good man, Charlie Brown, has gifted 5 Board Game Nation memberships. That is fantastic. You know what you get for that? You get Glockenspiel, my friend. That is a Glockenspiel for General Sapp and his 5 gifted memberships. Very kind. He has brought in Mr. Dale, Joe. The egg is here. Fantastic. Grant, we're going to put him over here. SRX. That is fantastic.
Joe, you're a Lou City fan. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm in Louisville.
That's right. So make sure that you pop into the Discord and take advantage of some of the member-only sections that are in there. Some of the things that I've been dropping in there are the original stills from the videos, as well as my annotation sheet that I was using for each of the games. So if you want to go back and look at and study each individual game or move or whatever, then you'd be able to go through and look at all of those pictures individually, which is pretty cool. So if you're wanting to do the deep dive into the games or get a better idea of how these things are made, then that's a good way to do that. Well, thank you very much, Richard. We really appreciate that. That's very kind. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. And my lovely bride, Jamie, is also in the comments, and she's just dropped the Find a Player or event for free on Discord. And there's our Discord invite link. So if you want to swing into there, that's fantastic. I think you might run into Emily over there, who is also usually helping people find their way once they get around there. Yes, Robin. This is my. I was wondering if I was going to notice this. So this is my. There it is. My U.S. Navy water drink bottle. Now, because it's a Navy bottle, you have to put alcohol in it. It's state regulation. I am sure you understand some federal regulation, but drinking in the Navy is something I don't know what it is. But yeah, that was a gift from my father, in fact. So yes, thank you for noticing. There's something about Matt Hyra. I saw it a second ago. Yeah, I don't know about this, Cody. Yeah, there will be some additional information that comes out at Gamma. I don't think they're going to have prototypes yet. At least that's what they told me. So for anybody that doesn't know, Gamma is a trade organization for gaming manufacturers of America. I think is what that stands for. And their expo is actually in Louisville. Speaking of Louisville, everything cool happens in Louisville, Doug.
Everything's cool in Louisville.
It's a 4 or 5 day event. I went last year, and it's like I said, it's an industry trade show. So what you end up with is a lot of information back and forth. Like you have a lot of game store owners that'll go to that, and then the game companies will be there to show what's coming up this year and start to kind of preview what they're expecting for summer and for Christmas next year and that kind of stuff. And every game company is there, and Renegade, of course, has a big presence. And I was there last year, got a first look at North Africa, and also got a first look at G.I. Joe. So I don't know. I posted pictures from there of the G.I. Joe minis. I think I was the first one to do that, actually. But the North Africa was not the one I saw was a prototype, and it wasn't ready for public consumption yet. Then there's a lot of stuff that you'll see at Gamma that is restricted from the public. So even if you see something that's cool that you want to tell everybody about, like you really can't because it's kind of a thing. But another from Murdoch. Yes, seize U.S. Navy bottle. Japan will remember this. Yes, I believe that they will. Not in our final match though. I think they just waved at the U.S. Navy in this one. Man, I don't know, man. So we're gonna get into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Pacific Theater has had a lot of action in a lot of our games, but not this one.
Right, it's not some. They've had a lot of hardware dropped in there, but Did they roll a die out there? I don't think they did. It just seemed that whole thing seemed very strange to me. But yes. But thank you again for the super chat, Murnook. That's very kind. Okay, so I, Christian, I've had some thoughts about this, and Doug and I haven't had a chance to talk about this. So this is hot goss about the Gary and Doug here. So I'm thinking about coming up to Louisville. I live in Memphis. Doug lives in Louisville, and I'm thinking about coming up there. And someone asked me for a how to play for 1941, like the simple game, right? And so I thought, what would be fun is if Doug and I played 1941 in like an hour, right? Like 'cause that's all it would really take, right? Right. So exactly. So we'd play. So we'd play that game and then do like a little review of it or something. I don't know. I think it'd be funny. Yes, I like this, Charles. You're very clever. Gary versus Doug. Loser shaves his head.
What are you saying, Charles?
Come on, man. What do you?
Does that mean you assume I'm going to lose?
Well, I got a little bit back here.
Okay, yeah.
Don't
Growing it out, I see.
That's right. I'm. This is my hippie phase. This is my hippie look. Don't mess with it.
You look like a card, man.
I know. That's right. I know. We got a couple of great super chats in here. Ed from Australia. I don't need an answer now, but I'd like your first thoughts over this live stream. First, do you think the U.S. were wishy-washy in their commitments to the war? Second, were the Axis gifted with a lot of luck? I assume we're talking about the game.
Yeah.
Or are you asking me a historical question? Yeah.
I think he's talking about the game.
I hope so, because I'll get into the history of it with you, but that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
But in the game, yes, I think this. If I had to pick a single thing that I thought made it very difficult for the Axis to win this game, it would be how the Americans were played. Spoiler alert! Sorry, everybody. If you haven't watched, if you're not of the 7,300 that have watched the final video yet, we're going to get into some spoilers now. We try to leave about the first 20 minutes thank you, Ed, for folks to just kind of pop in and see what's happening, but we're now going to get into spoilers for the game. So,
yeah,
spoilers. Sorry.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head though. Like the Allies had some things go wrong with them in multiple places, but US's lack of commitment. I mean, and this is not to criticize the Allied players. Like I played at least one of these guys, very good player, but I think that the US just didn't do anything in the Pacific. I mean, they blew up a cruiser and was there a destroyer off of Pearl? And that was about all they did. Like the battle that happened at Pearl Harbor going both directions is the only thing that happened out there. And
right.
Then they built on the East Coast and then decided to start sending it through the Panama Canal. So yeah, I think that was it's a classic. It can be tempting in games because you see like, man, I got these transports here in the Atlantic and Italy's kind of floundering a little bit, or at least they haven't expanded. They're not at 15, like Germany could be under some pressure. Like if I just add some more to that, it'd be really tempting.
I guess the thing that really, I don't know, they kept the transports in the Atlantic and sent them to Algeria, Morocco, and took out those really valuable fighters. Now they lost, the bomber and all their land units in the process, but I don't know that that's a terrible choice. But it also means that like now you've kind of sunk, a big chunk of the, your funding into the Atlantic fleet. So it's tricky for sure. But yes, that is absolutely correct. I think the U.S.'s wishy-washy play was a key factor in the failure by the Allies here. The second question, were the Axis gifted with a lot of luck? I don't think so. I think that they had a really good outcome in Season 2 at the beginning, where they were able to take out that UK or the UK fleet with the Russian sub in it. But that was only an 18%. So when I say, they got lucky. Like I dropped it in the video. That was an 18% outcome. That's not a 3% outcome. That's not a 1% outcome, right? Like that's 1 in 5, right? Like that's not obscenely unlucky, right? Particularly like if those subs hit, with the fighter and the bomber, like. So, do I think they got lucky? I think they I think they put themselves in a position to look lucky because all of their battles were typically really had really overwhelming odds. So I don't know that um, I don't know that it was a matter of luck necessarily. I wouldn't say they won because of luck. I think they played a
I wouldn't.
fantastic game.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Axis players played fantastic. I mean, I think they were lucky on the 3AA rolls, like 3 out of 4. Like that's crazy
Oh
luck.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
again, like they had really solid. Japan was playing amazing. Like it's hard to find anything wrong with what Japan did, and that's why you point out in the video you could have got the guy off Borneo. It's
Right,
like
right,
what else are you gonna what else are you gonna find flaws in Japan's play? So
right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, So yes, so thank you very much for the super chat. We got a couple other here that I need to jump in here. Cray, welcome up, man. Good to see you. This is a tribute to the humble Russian turn one fighter. Come on, man. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, I'm going to convert people to this. We're moving the needle, my friends. We're moving the needle. So anyway, so thank you very much for that. That is very kind. Thank you very much. We got another one. To the Russian fighter, long live the Red Air Force. You guys are too much. I love it. Thank you, Christian. Very
people
kind.
like it, Gary. They like it.
I'm telling you, and they like it because it's the right thing to do. It's just the right thing to do.
Mm,
Um,
maybe, maybe.
that's I'm gonna. What's funny is that this is all just a big rope a dope. So when I come in and play the World Championship next year, I'm gonna play the Allies and
That's
get all
right.
or I'm gonna play the Axis, and all you suckers are gonna buy fighters on the first turn.
Russia should build 2 bombers on round 1. It's the
That's
key. Two
absolutely
bombers.
right. Think of
That
the
or a
damage.
battleship and artillery. Drop a battleship in the Black Sea. Germany won't know what happened to them.
That's genius play.
Yes. Next level, man. That's what I
I
do.
like it. Well, we got a ton of people here. Thank you so much for being here. If you can, please take a second and hit that like button for us and let us know that you are enjoying what we're doing out here. If you are just jumping in here, we've had a little bit of a change of scenery on this side. We had to move studios. We had some internet problems in the new place that are going to be resolved by next week. Next week, we'll actually have or next time we do the live stream, we will not have a live stream next Friday. Let me make sure that everybody's clear about that. We will not be having a live stream next Friday. But we will, the next time we do have one, we'll have internet speed that's fast enough for me to turn the latency down so that we'll have a better, you'll be able to see me faster and I'll be able to see the comments more quickly as they come in. So it should be a little bit better experience for everybody. So very exciting. All right, so we got a couple other super chats in here. Murnook is back. Thank you very much. What we saw happen was what occurs when Japan outbuilds the U.S. It becomes too dangerous to contest the Pacific, coming out as an instant loss. I don't know that I would say that it was an instant loss. So it sounds like what you're describing is the idea that with Japan's purchase of the carrier on the first turn, that they wouldn't have been able to, that was really the deciding factor of the arms race in the Pacific. And I don't think that's necessarily true. Um, I don't. What do you think, Doug?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, it definitely helped Japan that they had a great first round. They built that extra carrier, coming out with 3 carriers against US is effectively 0. The US can catch up. I think they have to focus on it though. And yeah, it again we mentioned earlier it's tough because when you send a fighter and a bomber that you would have had in the Pacific to North Africa and lose them, it helped the Allies a lot in Europe, but it set America back. And then when they built what was it like a 3 destroyers and 2 transports, and most of that went over to the East Coast. I mean, Japan cannot build navy as fast as America because Japan tends to need to build more land units in order to move into Asia. So even if their economy is exactly the same as America, even if they're both making like 38, Japan in theory should have to put more money into land units than the United States. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, but I think it was a really awesome strat and something that I'm totally going to use when I play Japan next time in this game, like unashamedly,
That's right.
right? That's how people get better.
Absolutely.
You see, that's how people get better at chess, right? How far along has chess come? People see a strategy, they see
Yes.
moves, and they start using
Yes,
it.
yes,
Like
yes.
that's the name of the
Absolutely.
game. So
Yeah,
it was
and
great.
this is one of the reasons why we like go to make these videos why I wanted to go and make these videos in the first place is that like it creates like one of the things that I was seeing in the community was like people hiding their strategies, right? Like this is how I play and this is how I win and I don't want everybody to know how what my strategy is. And that just seems weird to me, right? Like I want everybody to know what I think the best strategies are so that strategies can evolve and get better. And that's and to me, that's one of the best things about Axis and Allies is that the there is so much strategic depth that the meta has changed consistently over time. And so we're seeing more and more varied strategies coming in. I mean, the Germans buying a carrier on the first turn. This is not a thing that was popular. I think it's going to be popular now. I'd not seen anybody buy a carrier for Japan on the first turn. I think we're going to see a lot of that now. But you could have said the same thing about 2 carriers and a fighter for 42nd edition in 2023, right? As far as I know, you and I were the only ones really doing that on a consistent basis in 42nd edition. But when we walked around the tournament last year, there was everybody doing it. It was just great.
Yeah, I know people were definitely doing it before us.
I'm not saying it was a
I mean,
completely original idea, but it
yeah,
certainly wasn't the commonplace move. I didn't think. The only other person I'd ever seen do it was you when I played you years ago, right?
yeah, yes.
We got another super chat. David Whitfield, thank you very much, sir. Very kind. Was wondering about the interaction of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, the inaction rather, of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. As you both observed, the U.S. fleet could and should have headed to the Solomons on turn 2 and staged their bomber out of it to threaten those Japanese transports on turn 3. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, David. It was either to the Solomon Islands or whatever the sea zone is that's around there, or out to the Caroline Islands, which would not have been quite as clever, I don't think. At a minimum, out to Hawaii, because from there, at least you can get to other things, So it just
Yeah,
didn't.
they got to a point where there was a ton of Japanese air in range and they couldn't press out. But early on, when those carriers were being built, if you remember, there was only like 1 or 2 fighters out there.
Yeah,
And so America could have pushed out some or pushed south and again, even threatening the Money Islands. Japan had most of their navy up around their capital and could kind of do what they wanted, more or less. There just wasn't any pressure on them.
right, right. So, when you've got one of the things that I said in last week's live stream about the semifinal match is one of the things that I look for when I'm evaluating a game, is how many IPCs worth of material was left unused,
Yes.
right? And in this instance, it was a lot, right? Hundreds of IPCs, I don't know, hundreds, but more than 100 worth of IPCs dropped in Season 56 that never rolled a die. And those are the kind of things that that over time are going to cause you to fall so far behind that you're never going to be able to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that in my game. I mean, I built that carrier and fighter with well, it was actually just carrier. I had the fighter there off of India, and I never did anything with it.
Right. Right. It absolutely can happen. All right. I feel like I had another super chat here, but I think I missed. Oh, there it is. Murdoch. Thank you, David. Really appreciate the support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great question. Murdoch, totally agree on the U.S. need to apply pressure and tease. Yes, or at least, yeah. So you know what? We've been ragging on the U.S. play here for a while now. Thank you again, Murdoch. Very kind. But one thing that they did do is they spent enough money to keep the Japanese attention to the north of the Pacific. Right. If they hadn't done that, and had they been pouring money into the Atlantic and putting more pressure on the Germans, then yeah, it'd have been harder, of course, on the Germans. But if the Japanese were making all of that money and were left unchecked, that whole fleet swings down, and and maybe it's complexes being built down there, or maybe it's a two transport shuck, French Indochina to Calcutta, and so Honolulu's going to be gone, Sydney's going to be gone. So they did do that. So you got to think about it, right? When the game ended, at least when the game ended, Calcutta was still controlled by the British, as was Sydney. Honolulu was still controlled by the Americans. So despite the ridiculous, production that Japan had, they never gained a victory city. Right? So before we completely discount everything that the American Navy did, they did do that. Right?
Yeah.
And that's important. So I don't know. Thought for food. Here's a good question. I bet, Doug, you probably got some thoughts on this. Thoughts on the German Navy carrier purchase?
Yeah, I've seen it in 42-second edition and this version before. I like it because I want to contrast it to 42-second. In 42-second, with the lack of a destroyer in the Baltic, a German destroyer in the Baltic, and usually you don't have to, but a lot of times that cruiser, the German cruiser, goes out and is used to attack the British fleet off of the UK. So you can build a carrier in 42-second. It can be a really effective strategy, but you don't have anything to cover it. You got to add a destroyer or something like that. Well, in this version, you can't get the cruiser to the battle off the UK, and you start with this destroyer also. So I think it's a really interesting buy. I'm trying to remember if I've done it in the past. I know I've seen it done to me. I think I've done it once also, or twice. I think it can be effective in applying pressure to the UK and potentially forcing them to not put a complex in India, or if they have a complex in India, not build in India, and have to really focus on just keeping a closer eye on their capital. And it just gives that extra spot for those fighters. A lot of times it can give them a little extra when they're going after the UK fleet and stuff like that. So I like it. I think it's a good strat. And I think it didn't really do that much in this game, but it can influence and impact significantly. And it may have, I don't know the mind of the British players, but maybe the British players were going to build a complex in India. But when that carrier dropped, they suddenly had to defend their capital, and they couldn't just leave it wide open. So that's why they built those 3 fighters, not only to defend, but then to go after it eventually. So.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. That was the response, right?
Yeah.
So they spent 14, the Germans spent 14 to basically triple the strength of their fleet, because now they can put the fighters out there, which to me is the true value, right? It's you could spend the 14, right, to put a destroyer. Say you spend 16, put 2 destroyers out there. Well, you've added a defensive 4. You spend 14, 2 less than for the destroyers, and you've put a defensive 10. Right? Okay, cool. So to me, that seems really valuable. But it also then forced the UK to spend 30 in a way that they wouldn't necessarily have done, right? So instead of building, another carrier or transports or whatever it is they were going to buy, or a complex in India or whatever, they had to stop, any other offensive move and build a thing that was going to, respond. And in theory, like the Germans could have continued that, right? So let's say that they dropped 2 more destroyers in that fleet. I don't know the math offhand, but like, do your 5 fighters and your bomber get through the carrier with 2 fighters, 3 destroyers, a cruiser? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it's certainly
It's,
certainly
it's
an
19 attack
interesting.
against 19 defense. I mean, it's super close either way.
Right. All right. Um, yeah. So this is a question that we've gotten in the comments a couple of times, and I guess when should you build industrial complexes? It doesn't seem like they ever get built. So I will say that we've talked a lot about a complex in India, and
Mm-hmm.
I think the consensus that we've come to, at least, and I'm not sure if the rest of the world agrees with this or not, but to me it seems like if the Japanese are successful in taking out the Flying Tiger, the fighter that's in China, the American fighter that's in China, if they're successful in taking that out, it's likely that they're going to have a really good deep run into China. And so that means that the Chinese will not likely be producing any units in that theater at all. And if that's the case, then Japan's going to have a really good game. Unless the UK builds a complex down there and starts to be able to produce units of their own in that area, they would at least now there would at least be some allied power in the space that can produce units. So, but if they don't, right? If they don't, if they're unsuccessful in taking out the fighter in Yunnan, now the Chinese are likely to be able to counterpunch and make trades with the Japanese land units because they'll have a fighter to come in and make those attacks. If they're able to do that, if they're successful in doing that, then the complex in India probably isn't necessary. And it's unlikely then that the Japanese will be able to make a deeper run into China. They may even have trouble getting to Calcutta unless they abandon China altogether and just start shuttling guys into French Indochina, Thailand. So that's really the primary reason that you don't see it. I have given some thought to like a complex in Egypt. I don't know if it would work or how it would work. I think that might be interesting. So I don't know. Go ahead, Doug. You seem like you got something to say.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. The thought of a complex in Egypt has crossed my mind. Also, I think it'd be really hard to hold that against the Italians. I mean, they have
Yeah. You'd
you
have to
can
abandon
build.
Calcutta to do it, right? You'd have to bring
Yeah,
everything over from Calcutta. You'd have to bring the guys up from South Africa, and
yeah. If
even then,
Egypt were 3 or something, and you
yeah,
could
the
in some
Russian
way
fighter would probably have to come down. Yeah.
outproduce the Italians. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think here. I think the only game we saw complex in India was my game, right? The quarterfinal game. I think in both semifinals and in the final, there was no complex in India. And what allies of the 3 no complex in India games, allies won 2 and Axis lost, or I'm sorry, and the Axis won one of those games, right?
Yeah.
And the game that I built a complex in India as the allies, I lost.
Right.
Um, and I don't think that's like definitive information, but it is interesting that 3 of the 4 games, basically you don't build a complex, the allies win. You do build a complex, the Axis win. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember in your game, did they take out the fighter in Yunnan?
They, mm, I
I've had so many of
believe,
these games in my head where I can't keep track. I can't
yeah,
remember.
I don't remember. I
Anybody
remember,
remember the quarterfinal match,
think
whether or
we
not the
did.
Yunnan fighter
I
got destroyed?
remember I ended up with a big stack of guys like back in the corner, and I didn't have my fighter with them then at that point. So yeah, I think they got rid of my
Yeah, they
fighter.
must have.
Yeah, yeah.
Cray's got
Now
another
again,
super.
you could
Go ahead.
argue I mismanaged my complex. I built that carrier and never did anything with it. So on and so forth. But
Yeah. Another super chat from Cray. Thank you very much, sir. U.S. keeping Japan honest by amassing, but also doing that Atlantic purchase was at least strategy. That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
If the UK mass dropped or on Northeast Europe and the US later took France, USSR could retake Calcutta while Germany folds on turn 6. All right, Cray, thank you for the support and the segue. Okay.
Yeah. I do want to say one thing about this because I know we're segueing here, but I think
Yeah.
this is my issue with what the U.S. did when they built on the East Coast. I feel like the decision was made: keep the pieces on that side of the board. To build in the East Coast and then say, let's then take them through the Panama Canal to the West Coast, I think that was the mistake because you effectively lose 2 turns. But if you take all of that material and land it in North Africa, then you have a real threat against Italy or France or whatever.
Right.
I think the problem was like the vacillation.
Right. Okay, so in a couple of the videos, a couple of the live streams that we've done, I've laid out how the other side could have won, right? And this game ended UK 4. It's pretty early to be able to say, like, this is the definitive path to how the Allies could have won this game. But I did come up with a path to a path, I guess is the best way to say it. And this is kind of how Doug described it as we were talking about it beforehand. So I've got some slides that we've set up, and we're going to go through these and talk about them. And hopefully this works because you just know that with, all right, here we go. Fantastic. Okay, so what?
I'm just already thinking about your first point, which I thought was a very good point when you thought of this.
Okay. So this is the end state of the game, right? So this is how the game ended. Now, I want you to notice here that in my still image, I have the crew. These are the transports that came in, and they dropped off all the guys, right? But the carrier and the destroyer are still back here because to move those into Sea Zone 5 is a non-combat move. Right. So, but Mike and Matt and lots of other players over the course of the tournament and in casual play, they like to move their combat moves and non-combat moves at the same time. And that is what happened here. Let me see. Hopefully, yes. So they moved too early. So they moved during combat. They moved their carrier and their destroyer into Sea Zone 5 with their transports. Now, this doesn't seem like a big deal, right? That doesn't seem like a big deal. That would be kind of the natural move. You're expecting to do that. But then you roll into Karelia, and 3 of your fighters get shot down. And so now you're like, well, damn. I've got all my guys in Sea Zone 5. I've only got 1 fighter left. I'm gonna go ahead and quit. But if they had just seen this position, right? And if you don't think that your carrier and your destroyer with 1 fighter, if you think that you're not going to be able to defend Sea Zone 5, you've got another choice. They built a fighter, during purchase units. They can move that fleet to Sea Zone 2 instead, right? If they move out to Sea Zone 2, they can mobilize with that fighter and have a force. The only thing that can reach them is the bomber, right? And so it'll be fine. Yeah, you're going to lose these transports, and that sucks, and that's not great. But at least the rest of your fleet is going to survive, and you've got a bunch of land units that are coming in. So now all you're going to have to do is buy some more transports and, probably some additional naval units. But you could survive from here. Not great, but you could survive from here. But you don't even have to do that. So now what I've done is I've laid out a what-if scenario, right? And I built a kind of a fictitious game here that could. So to be clear for anybody that's watching, if you're just tuning in, what you're seeing here, this is how the game ended, and now I'm going to make up the rest of this. What I think are the best possible moves, at least the most logical moves that I think that these particular players could have made had the game continued.
I just want to interject real quickly and even just further agree with your point. It seems to be more tempting, particularly during combat when you're moving transports to places, to move their the actual like warships along with them, right? Their escorts with them. But I think it's just a really key example of like doing things in the proper order is really important. And who hasn't moved their carrier in with their transports? Like everybody's done it. You just grab that destroyer and that stack of stuff and you shove it up there. But yeah, I agree. I think you just got to be careful about that because it does put you, not only is it confusing because it's like, well, did I move this piece? It didn't conduct combat, like what's going on here? But like, yeah, you get in a situation where you've moved a thing, something has developed that would have changed your decision.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So if if you take away options for yourself when you don't have to, and that's the thing that I, it gets and like Doug said, it gets confusing. Did I move this? This is how pieces get double moved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doug moves it, and then I move it, thinking he didn't move it, and like that's no bueno. So make sure that, just as a rule of thumb, casual play, tournament play, whatever, make sure that your combat moves are separate from your non-combat moves. And as a person who has to watch videos or chooses, I don't have to, that chooses to watch the videos and try to recreate the games in the studios, like it's crazy making for somebody like me who is trying to recreate the game. So please
do it for Gary.
Do it for Gary. Yes, please and thank you. Anyway, so where do we go from here? So this is where they are at the end of UK4. And basically what I've got here is they've placed their new units where you got their fighter here. The fighter that was in Transjordan that survived the Italian attack moves up to Russia. The artillery moves over to Persia. Right? So next, the Italians, they're going to do Italian things, right? They're not particularly worried about this transport out here or these guys. They, in theory, could pick up some guys and come all the way out here, but that doesn't seem like a good use of their time. Plus, it puts them in range of some other angry units. So what they're likely to do here is just come back over and take Transjordan, try to keep because now those Russians are down here. They're going to want to try to keep the pressure that way and keep the Russians from kind of walking through here. But they can just send one cruiser out to C-Zone 13 and block 13. So now that transport couldn't come into the Med if it wanted to, because it's all by its lonesome. In theory, the bomber could come out here and take and attack this cruiser, and then the transports could make a non-combat move in here, but that doesn't work. So anyway, so I told a lie. I realized this as I was putting this together. I told a lie during the video. I said that the U.S. bombers were not in range of any of the Japanese transport. This one actually turns out it was. But on the U.S.'s turn, they've got two combats. The first is, or three combats, really. So the transport from 12 pops up and attacks Norway. Grabs Norway. And then the guy steps over and takes Libya. The bomber can reach C-Zone 38. That's fun. Right? So he can sink this transport and then land in Australia. That's handy, right? And that's a better place for him to be. So that works out. And so now the Americans also pick up 4 more IPCs per turn. And that's 4 more IPCs. Yeah, that can be going to Japan.
Taking a guy with me to Norway.
Maybe. Yeah, you could have.
Either way.
But you're just looking to claim territories at this point, right? But this does do one other thing that's useful here. When the U.S. take Norway, if the Germans rather do come into this sea zone and attack, now the fighters can stay on the defense, and if the carrier gets destroyed, they now have a place to land. They didn't have a landing spot before, so the Americans popping up to Norway gives them a place to land if the carrier gets destroyed. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's very good.
Yeah, so this bomber's not here, by the way. It's in Australia. So that's just That's a meme, forgetting to move that piece around. So Japan 5, now I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about what was happening in the Pacific because this is not what caused the Allies to resign. So I'm just going to assume that the Japanese are over here doing Japanese things. But they're almost certainly going to come down and take Calcutta. And I'm also going to assume that they're probably going to bring some transports down, shuck some more guys to French Indochina, Thailand, and continue to make this push in this direction. And maybe they go up that way or they do something else. But for the most part, we're just going to assume that Japan is just doing what Germany does. Somebody from Quebec is here. Eric from Thailand is here. Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate that. And so now to Russia's 5th turn. And the Russians haven't bought a fighter this game. So they're going to buy one now because they should. And they've got enough money to buy this fighter and 4 infantry, and I think it actually saved them 2 IPCs. So they're buying a fighter this turn.
I'll buy a fighter out of Gary. He's going to get a fighter in there no matter what happened, guys.
You're damn right. So there it is. So he's got himself a fighter now. So for their combat, they need to make a buffer zone again, right? So they need to block off this stack of tanks and these tanks. So they're going to take these guys out. They're going to take out the guys in Ukraine, and and they're going to be able to clear out those spaces because they got pretty good maths to do it. So we'll assume that they did that. They took what I'm going to call the statistically average losses. They make some really key non-combat moves here. See how I'm accentuating the key that this was a non-combat move. So the fighter came from Russia. It came from Caucasus. It moved through Russia, participated in this attack on Archangel, had 2 moves left, lands on the carrier in C-Zone 5, significantly increasing the defense of that space. Paint the skies red. You're a good man, Charlie Brown. I appreciate you. All right. So then we send over 2 tanks into Shanghai. Now, the only thing that can reach this, at least assuming that nothing significant changed on Japan 5, right? Or Japan 4. Assuming nothing significant changed on Japan 4. The only thing that can reach this is this bomber. So I don't think Japan sends 1 bomber after 2 tanks. I don't think they do it, right? So they got 1 guy there. So I think this is the crux of what's going to keep the Allies alive. They mobilized into Caucasus with their 3 infantry and a fighter, and 1 guy into Russia. But here's what I love about this right now, right? So you've got 11 tanks in the area, 7 infantry that will be able to get to Russia on Germany 6, right? And there's 1 guy and a bomber and a fighter and 2 AA guns in Russia, right? Stay with me, friends. It gets a little crazier from here. But what's important here is that this is Germany's 5th term, and now they're looking at this attack in C-Zone 5. They can get there with 2 fighters and a bomber. Are they going to go? I don't think so. Not with 21%. There ain't no way. They're not doing it. They're too good of players. They wouldn't make a move like this, right? So what do they do instead? They're going to buy 6 infantry and 2 fighters to put some additional. Please don't make that stick. Please stop with this. I don't know what this is. I don't know. No.
What?
Air Force One. No. They're naming the Russian Air Force.
I was just going to say, I think you're just going to have everybody buy a fighter, right? Like,
hang in there, friends. Here we go. There's more to come. Stay. The trouble is this what we want to be known for? All right, hell. All right, well, you do what you do. You can't control the internet. You just can't. You guys are gonna do what you're gonna do. That's fine. So anyway, so the Germans buy 6 infantries and 2 fighters because they want to put pressure on that UK fleet. So where am I going here? You guys have got me all screwed up now. All right, so what are their combat moves then? So they consolidate into Belarusia, right? They bring the whole stack. Thank you, John. I'm staying focused. They They bring the whole stack into Belarusia from Karelia, from Eastern Poland, and then they send the bomber to pick off this annoying U.S. transport that's out here, right? But otherwise, they don't really have the forces that they can really split out here. Now, this is pretty fun. I like this because there's something clever that happens here. The extra fighters that are coming in, this will give them 4 fighters and a bomber. This force would not be able to stand up to that, right? So they've left Karelia empty, but it means that that if the UK were to go and reload and then come back, then this fleet hasn't had an opportunity to add anything to its defense, right? So it's a little bit of a trap, I think. So there we go. You guys, I'm trying to focus up here. I can't do it, I can't do it. Robin, bro, you're killing me. It's no good.
Force is eternal.
I see you're playing the Gear Force opening. Oh, you guys are you guys are so clever. Look at you.
Who started this?
I know. Yes, I did. So anyway, so that's the German assaults, right? So I think this is probably the most likely thing that they would do, right? They mobilize. They have their 6 infantry and the 2 fighters there, which gives them a huge stack of guys in Berlin, and then the 4 fighters and the bomber, and then a huge stack in Belarusia. And again, still in Russia, 1 guy, 1 bomber, and a fighter. Staring at this wall of German pieces, right? This does not seem optimistic. But we move on to the UK's 5th turn. And what do they want to do? They need to up their defense. So they take a page out of the Japanese playbook and they get themselves a 2nd carrier with another fighter. And then I like this play. Doug mentioned this in the video, the idea, and I wanted to kind of explain it a little bit more because we kind of glazed over pretty quickly in the video, but the idea here is to drop the tanks in Norway, right? And then make the non-combat back into Sea Zone 6, mobilize everything that's here, right? Bring that fighter out because it's going to be on the carrier that's coming in, along with the other fighter. But what you're looking at is now you're taking on your next turn, on UK 6, you've got the tanks that'll blitz through Finland and the transports that'll come through and land all of those units at the same time, right, on UK 6, which is going to make it really hard for the Germans to be able to do anything about it. So that's kind of what this is setting up, which is, I think, is pretty clever, and I think and I wanted to share it with everybody. So they also pick up Northwest Europe because they're there. And it's another thing that the Germans have got to worry about. One of the things that I liked was the idea of, on UK 4, rather than going into Karelia, was to splinter in Sea Zone 5 and pick up Norway, Finland, Poland, Northeast Europe, all at the same time. And, you're making 10 IPCs, more than you were before, and you got control of Norway. And with that much money, now you might also think about building a complex in the UK might think about building a complex in Norway. This is before the US would have taken it. But yeah. So anyway, so I think that I like this.
Slide for that? I was thinking you did. I like that idea.
No, I don't think I made one for that.
Okay.
But I probably should have. Italian 5, man, I got 12. I'm not just a Russian fighter guy. I do like an Italian bomber every now and again. They got 12. This is my fictitious game. They will buy what they want. They buy themselves a bomber. They take out the Italian, the last American guy there in Libya, and that's really all they have. And they attacked Persia as well. So they came in and they took out this last UK unit that was there. So and then they mobilized their bomber into Italy. I don't know that it would do any good, but I like the idea of it. And then we look at the U.S.'s 5th turn. All they really have here is to step into Finland. U.S. or Japan 6, again, they're probably doing Japan things. They're probably bringing more guys over. The They are going to come up from Calcutta into Persia because there's no reason for them to not be there. You know what the Russians are doing on their sixth turn? Spoiler,
Why
they're buying
wouldn't
another
they?
fighter.
Why wouldn't they? I mean, come on now.
That's right. You got a wall of Germans coming at you. What do you need? A fighter. Tell your
Fighter.
friends.
You need the
That's
Air Force.
the Air Force.
That's what
That's
you
right.
need.
so option number one is that on Russia 6, they could, in theory, push this stack down and try to take this out. But this is not a good plan because they've got this giant stack here, and there's only one dude hanging out in Russia screaming for reinforcements.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Where'd
So
everybody go?
we're not going to be able to do that. As far as these 2 tanks that we sent out to China, one of 2 things is going to happen here. If they run out here and get blown up by Japanese fighters, cool. That's what they're going to do it. But if they or they're liberating more Chinese territories, or one or the other. Either way, they're not coming back to Moscow, right? And I think probably the best way for the Russians to have done this would have been to blitz through Ningxia, which I know I've now learned that I'm saying wrong after, I don't know, 17 hours worth of video of saying the word Ningxia, but I know I'm saying it wrong, but I don't know how to
I have to
say it.
I have to tell on you here, Gary. I don't remember which video it was, but there were a couple videos where I was doing the US's turn. And I think it was semifinal 2. And Gary's literally like, "Hey, Doug, you're not really pronouncing these Chinese provinces correctly. How about I do the US's turn?"
Right.
It comes out that you're saying them all wrong too.
I know.
I'm
The one I was saying wrong for sure.
Says.
The one I was saying wrong for sure was Ningxia. Suyuan is how you say that. Now, there was a lot of this last week about the Szechuan, and it may now be called Szechuan, but currently, when you Google that word, it's Suyuan. So I did check. So, and I have Googled how to say Ningxia, but now I've forgotten how to say it. So now that's apparently how I'm going to say it. Yes, Cray, I am now writing fan fiction. That is correct. So, but I hope that it's at least somehow instructional. So the idea here would have been to send the tank through Ningxia into Hubei, the other one through Xikang into Hubei. And now when the U.S.'s turn comes around, China would be able to build 2 infantry that they can put in Hubei. So now they've got 2 infantry and 2 tanks. This is a lot harder to kill than just those 2 tanks. Because in theory, if they've got fighters out here, Eric is trying to help me pronounce this correctly. Yeah. No, I don't. I'll work on it, Eric, I promise. But I'm not going to fix it right this minute, but I will work on it. So this is probably the best way for this to do this. But either way, these 2 tanks are not coming back. So the Russians are going to be on their own. They're not going to be able to do anything with those. Sean, I didn't roll any dice on these. That's a good question. I didn't roll any dice, but what I did do is I looked at the math for most of these battles, particularly the key battles, and just kind of did rough how it would have gone, 1 hit for this, 1 hit for that, kind of averages. So now, what are the Russians' combats this turn? They're going to grab the free stuff. They're going to take Bulgaria, Romania. They're going to step in behind and take Eastern Poland, and they're going to step over and take Karelia for free. It's fun. And then non-combat, they are moving out of Stalingrad and into Russia. Not going to be able to hold Stalingrad. Those units are going to come up from Persia. They're going to take it. But that's okay. We're going to take it back on a future turn. Ningxia? Is that better, right, Eric? I'm doing my best. Ningxia? Maybe that does sound familiar. Anyway, so now they non-combat and then they mobilize. And now what are they doing? We turn it over to the Germans for their 6th turn. Now look at this. Look what we got. We got ourselves 11 infantry, 6 artillery, 4 fighters in the space, 3 of them Russians, right? And the German force, you've got 11 tanks, 7 infantry, and a bomber that could reach Russia if it really needed to.
You also have 4 AA guns. That's nothing. That's no
Right.
small thing.
Yes. As it turns out, this is the AA gun from Calcutta, from Karelia, from Caucasus, and of course the one that started in Russia. We've just started a collection of. I thought about shipping these up actually, but then I was like, nah, that's too much fun. Uh,
You should have.
I know. So yeah. So do we think at this point? Do we think the Germans can successfully attack this force? Can the Germans go into Moscow now?
Not with the Gare Force there. No way.
Not with the Air Force, baby. That's right.
Not happening.
Uh, and I did the math here. So Germans are 27% to go into this space. And I wish that I'd have saved the statistic because I did look it up. But if you trade out the 20 IPCs that you spent on the two fighters for more infantry, the math gets worse.
Nice.
The math gets worse because you're defending at fours and you've got enough hits that you can give that you can get into those tanks and you can blow those tanks up. And I also did the math. If you reverse this attack, if all of a sudden, for whatever reason, those German units just stay there, this force and with the couple guys around it are powerful enough to take out that entire German force in Belarusia.
That makes sense. You have tons of cannon fodder. You have like about 2.5 times as much cannon fodder as they have.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Dave, I see you, Dave. I see you. I'm not 100% behind it, but I know how to roll with the joke. So, yeah. I don't know. Somebody's gonna make T-shirts or something. We're gonna have to figure it
I don't
out.
know if you've seen the super chats about it, but you're gonna have to. We'll have to get to those before this is over.
Are there super chats about the? Oh my god, you guys are too much. Oh my. All right, I'll come back to the super chats in a minute. Guys, let me get through this. Let me get through my fan fiction. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, where'd I go? I lost my mouse. There we go. All right. I think that's it. No, I added more to the thing. So this. Here we go. So Germany 6, they can't hit Moscow, right? They can't hit this fleet, even with their 4 fighters and the bomber. This is now unhittable for them, right? The math is terrible. And in theory, they could go back to Karelia with this giant stack. But this UK fleet, when we look at their next turn, look at what they got. Look at all their options. They can go to Paris. They can go to Warsaw. They can stack Norway. They can stack Baltic states. They have so many targets here that it's just, I don't know. And if the Germans decide to try to spread out to defend any of these places, then Berlin is not as protected as it needs to be. So do I think that the Allies were going to win this game? I don't know. But I think that there were a lot of options for them. I do not think that this game was over. I think that Mike and Matt's decision to resign was absolutely based entirely on their mental state at the time and the idea that they were not going to be able to um, that they were behind and that the luck was against them and that like the quicksand just took over here. And I've been there. I know exactly how that feels. But it is there was a path to a path, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And one thing that I want to say to all those A&A online players that like to complain about the Beam Dog random dice generator, random number generator, you just watched a 212 to 1 outcome in the final of the Axis and Allies World Championship. That's, pretty significant.
I've got to say that the AA guns in these games have just been
The
on
whole
fire.
series.
Yeah. In my first game, which I think you taped, but we didn't make a video of, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I was the Allies and Germany attacked my capital. And I think if they attacked me with 5 or 6 air, I shot 3 or 4 of them down also. It was just crazy. Yeah, the AA guns were just, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Oh, that does not look like it's supposed to look. Oh, I see what's happened. Oh, I've got animation here that shouldn't be here. So this is going to go really slow for some reason. I'm not really sure why there's animation here, but there it is. So we kind of, in the video, we kind of glazed through the post-game slides, like the details. But there are a couple of things that I wanted to reflect on real quick. Oh, you. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to fix this real quick. Da, 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 da. Hey, we're back up here.
Nice.
Let me fix it.
Yeah, I think that I think this was a path to a path for the Allies. I agree. I don't think, obviously Japan's doing something. Italy's probably not buying a bomber, or maybe it's another transport and getting
Right.
more guys in, Caucasus or something. But yeah, at least I think there's a path for the Allies to continue to play here.
Well, yeah. I mean, this also assumes that the U.S. doesn't swing down and actually start, getting in the game, right?
Yeah, what's interesting about this whole thought process is, what if the U.S. would have left those 2 destroyers and those transports in the Atlantic? They could have had more pressure on, on Italy, done a 1-2 landing in France, something like that. Because I think they would have had 3 transports, 2 destroyers, the bomber, and 4 ground units. Because they had
Yeah.
they had infantry and artillery in North Africa, and they had 2 more infantry and 2 more artillery coming over.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways that this could have been done. So one of the things that I wanted to notice here, that we kind of glazed through these slides in the video because we were just kind of flabbergasted by the resignation. But when they resigned, there's 2 hours and 46 minutes left on the clock. This game started at 8 a.m. It's 11:15, and they're packing up to go to lunch, which I thought was pretty surprising. But when you look at the total combat losses, this is somebody that was asking me this earlier. It was like, I know we're in the way here, but it's 387 to 481, which is obviously significant. But the Axis are making a little bit more money, but it's all coming from China, right? You can tell this because this is -5, this is -14. The Axis get to collect the extra money from China, but the Allies don't, because China doesn't generate IPCs for itself. So you end up with, this is why you see this, this number not in balance. So if those Russian tanks started to cut into this with any kind of success rate, then you'd see this number flip pretty quickly. And again, Victor City's count was tied when the game ended.
Yeah, I mean, India was going to fall.
That's true, but it looked like, but the UK could have just as easily taken back. They could have taken Poland. If round 4 was going to be the end of the game, UK jumps down, they take Poland, they take Paris, and that's the game, because now they're ahead, even if Calcutta goes. Right? So
no, that would rebalance it to 9-9. If the Axis took Calcutta, it would have been 8-10, and with a recapture of one of those cities, it would have been back square at 9-9.
Oh yeah, you're right. So total combat losses. So this is a statistic that we kind of made up in the last one. Is the total losses versus economic production. The Axis had a -35 game, which is, I think, might be the best we've seen so far, and the Allies had a -80 game, which is not the worst we've seen. But we also only went 4 rounds in, so this is a little hard to sort out. But this one, in fact, this is the last one of these, so I'm going to take us off the screen here so we can see what we're talking about. So this is a new slide. Let me talk about this real quick. So this is the starting unit's IPC value of the 1942 setup for anniversary. So You've got 668 is the total value of all of the starting Axis pieces on the map, right? And the Allies start with 648. In this game, the combat losses, the Axis lost 387 of them. The Allies lost 471 of theirs, which is huge. Their total IPC production over the course of the game, the Axis made 352, the Allies made 391. So the Allies win the economic battle here, but they obviously lose the difference, right? So the total value of all of the pieces left on the map for the Axis is 633, and the Allies have 568. Now, this isn't exactly perfect because there's money that people have earned that they haven't spent, right?
I was just going to ask about that.
Right. So this is just end state of the game when the UK, had finished their turn. So anyway, I think that's interesting.
Also about that stat, the total IPC production, is that really starting round 2, or are you counting what each country starts with on round 1?
I'm starting with this number is the value of all of their units.
No, total IPC production, that one, the 352 for the Axis. Does that count?
That's how much they produce round after round.
But does it include round 1?
Right. So they get to the end. So they get to the end of Russia's first turn. Whatever it is that they produced at the end of Russia 1 is what would have been included there. And then the UK earned 30 on their first turn, and US earned 38 or 39 or whatever it is that they were making. So yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm probably not being very clear with my question. So Russia starts the game with 24 IPCs like in hand. If Japan were to take, whatever it is, East Russia or whatever it is on round 1, are you counting the $24 that Russia starts the game with, or are you saying because Russia only earned 22 at the end of round 1, are you counting the 22 that they earned?
That's a good question. Honestly, I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
because Japan starts with 31, but if they take several spots in China, they might get 34 or 35. So I just didn't know which number. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at it again. I think it does include their starting IPCs, because when I'm thinking about my spreadsheet now, and I have like total income at the bottom, so that's where I'm getting that number. So I'd have to look at it again to make sure. But so yeah, so I think that I don't know. I hope that those are instructive. I hope they make some kind of sense. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
That's very cool. I like it.
My God. You guys. So something just happened on the Discord channel. You guys are just insane. Can I drop this here? Well, it will. Let me drop it. Oh, good gravy. Okay.
Got the red star on it and everything. That's perfect.
Well played, sir. Well played. Very nice. Very nice. We'll have to figure out something to do with that. I think we're going to make T-shirts or hats or something. Or
yeah,
mugs.
I mean, I work at a screen printer, right? I just need the art. If someone can get me the art, I can make some shirts. We can make this happen, guys.
You guys are so weird. Okay. What have I done? Oh, God. All right, you guys. Oh my God. All right. So apparently there were some super chats I missed. This must be you, Murnook. Yes, it's a major nuker. Yes, thank you very much for the super chat and the excellent art. Very kind, sir. We're gonna have to have you sign over a waiver for rights or something so we can.
That's right. Kind of makes me think he hasn't been listening to you for the past 10 minutes.
Right. Are you watching the show? Or that's with Adobe. What's going on there? That's awesome, bro. I appreciate it. All right. So, we got a lot of super chats today. Very, very kind folks. Yes, Cray, Yes, we agree that the Turn 1 Russia fighter is now called Gear Force 1 build. All right,
That's
very
right.
good.
Got the 912 and the Air Force One.
Thank you, Charles. For the Gear Force 1 opening, you will place the fighters in Moscow, Karelia, or Caucasus. Inquiring minds need to know. Oh, it's got to go into Caucasus. Yeah. If you're going to buy, yeah, because you need that fighter to defend against the Italian fleet in this game, and if you're doing it in 42nd, then the Germans that could come in and attack um, Caucasus. So yes, absolutely, that needs to be that when you buy your first round Russian fighter. I'm gonna have to figure out if I can say those words out loud. It feels a little weird to say. You guys make me blush. All right, so yes, very good. You guys are
Hey, you
so.
named the thing after me. I think it's great they named something after you. I mean, it's still weird for me to talk about the Thorpe thump.
I know it's weird, right? Um,
Yes.
but no, that's good. All right, so God, what time is that? We got okay. So if you're here and having a good time, make sure you hit that like button for us. We appreciate that. Very kind. We earlier this week we cleared um, 60 members, which was great. Last week we gave away the 1914 signed map, and we got that out in the mail to the winner a couple of days ago. So we're excited about that. And as it turned out, as I was talking to the member that won, he said that he had just ordered the 1914 deluxe map. So this worked out perfectly. So I think he was planning to frame the one from Larry. So it's worked out really nicely so far because we gave away the um, that War Room kit in December, and it had a bunch of War Room stuff in it, and we had to we were very happy that it went to somebody who actually likes War Room and had actually played it, so that worked out really well. And then and now we just gave away this 1914 map, and it was somebody who was a really big fan of that particular version of the game. So it's worked out pretty nicely so far, which is good. So, but unfortunately, we did have a prize that we assigned last week, 2 weeks ago, that we gave away, which was the signed global map, which I don't have with me to show you, but you'll have to take my word for it. Watch previous live streams where we had the Pacific map that's signed, and by the one and only Mr. Larry Harris, and a very nice gift from him, very kind, and unfortunately, we have not been able to get in contact with the person who won it. So we're going to go ahead and give it away again, and see who's going to be the lucky winner to take that home. But I wanted to see before we get into that. You know what? There was one other topic that I wanted to talk about, but let's do this real quick. So Dan, no talk about Germany Season 2. We talked about the carrier build earlier. Oh no, yeah, the attack. Yeah. Now I know
Oh
what you're
yeah.
talking about. So I've been looking at that since the beginning. Like as I was first kind of diving into the analysis of these games, I'm like, why is everyone going after the smaller target here? You have the math to hit this fleet in Season 2. Yeah, you're going to probably lose a couple of units here, but it's just crippling to the UK. Without that battleship and that transport there, like you just bought yourself a ton of breathing room in the North Atlantic. So particularly when you pair that with the carrier build, it's now all of a sudden really hard for the UK to get moving up there. I don't know if you had any thoughts about it.
Yeah, I still think it's a worthwhile move in strat. I do remember specifically in this, I believe it was in the spring gathering I did, maybe it was the exact same attack, two subs fighter bomber after the British battleship, and then the two fighters and the destroyer after the cruiser and the destroyer off of Gibraltar. And I mean, take this with a grain of salt because I know dice can always go bad for you, but I lost at least 2 fighters and maybe 2 fighters and a bomber because that season 2 battle. There's a 42% chance of winning, but there's also a 42% chance of getting wiped out as Germany. And so I think I lost the fighter and the bomber in that battle. And then when I attacked the cruiser and the destroyer, they hit me twice. I lost a destroyer and another fighter. And going into like the end of round 1, down 2 fighters and a bomber with Germany sucks, frankly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so like, I maybe that's why, maybe people have gotten, because I remember getting bit by that once, and I don't think I had, it was a couple years ago. I don't think I'd run the numbers at that point. I think I was kind of like, man, that's not worth it. I need to look at that more carefully. So maybe similar things. But yeah, I guess the question is like, if you come out even in season 2, what are the chances, which is again, you basically have about a 50% chance of winning versus coming out even, 42% each way. What are the chances of losing a fighter in the other one and losing 3 air in the first round with Germany? So I think that's an
Yeah.
interesting question to looking into.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting move. I like it because it's aggressive, and I'm a big
Yeah.
believer that the Axis need to be aggressive from jump, which is kind of one of the things. So one of the things that I was noticing is I think a lot of people haven't. I don't know. I hope this comes out right, but I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding of the basic structure of a Larry Harris Axis and Allies game. So the basic structure is that you've got a force that has a stronger presence on the map, but they're facing somebody that can build faster, right? That has a stronger economic presence, right? And like, I'll take this down to the most recent, like, powered by Axis and Allies game. Like, this is how G.I. Joe is set up, right? Cobra starts with a lot of material on the board, but the Joes make more money in a 3-to-2 ratio, right? And so that's the nature of the Axis and Allies games, is the idea that, like, if you look at 42nd edition, the Germans and the Japanese have a lot more material than the Allies when the game starts, but the Allies can make a lot more money. And their other advantages are that you typically have more powers. 42nd edition, you've got 3 powers versus 2 powers. In Anniversary, you get the Italians are in on it, but their 10 IPC economy is not that big of a deal. The Chinese, I think, can play a larger role in the game, even really sometimes than the Italians can. But the point is that, like, the Axis are always going to be really, if they're playing correctly, in my opinion, they're always going to be really strong and really aggressive in the beginning. And what the Allies have to do, and I made this kind of silly video a few years ago that was like how to win at Axis and Allies, like a beginner's guide. And this is kind of the point that I made in that video. I threw in a bunch of like goofy movie clips just because I thought it was fun, and people enjoyed it, and hopefully it got this particular point across. But the point of the game is for the Allies to, the clip that I kind of used to sum it up is that dip, dive, dip, dodge, and duck, or whatever, like from dodgeball. They've got to fade all of the Axis material, right? They've got to be able to parry all of those things as they're happening and count on their economic strength to be able to overcome that and to be able to build past it, right? Which is why the longer a game goes, the more likely the Allies are to win, right? Axis can win a long game, of course, but in most out-of-the-box setups, the longer a game goes, the more likely the Allies are to win. So in this instance, it felt like to me that the Allies resigned at the crest of the Axis's power, right? The Germans, they were running out of steam. I made some, in the scenario that I just laid out, I made some crazy purchases and some crazy moves. And even in that kind of bizarro scenario, the Germans were not getting into Moscow.
Yeah.
right? They just weren't. And they also probably weren't going to be able to hold Stalingrad. And if the UK could keep it together, they were going to start landing 8 guys around in Europe, either in Karelia or in Poland or in Paris or wherever. Um, so the idea that they gave up right then, and the Japanese were starting to have a little bit of trouble. If you look at like the reason that they hadn't pushed into Calcutta is because they kept running out of guys. Now they had a lot of money and they had the ability to cart, but they were getting to the end of their reach,
Yeah.
right? And that is when the Allies can take over, and that's when all of a sudden, like, here comes a bunch of UK guys, and here's the Russian wall, and with the fighters, and the US is ready to go.
And here's America. Yeah. 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 I think the thing that the Axis have to do to tip that balance, to your point, is they have to, before the Allies get the momentum, is they have to capture the economic advantage from them. And they were starting to
Right.
do this in this game. But one thing that I thought was really interesting about this game that we didn't really talk about much, but you mentioned it in the video, is there was nobody in Africa. That Allies attack on round one, the American attack into Morocco, was really interesting. And then just the what was it? The attack out of Egypt, which should have been won by Britain, and then America attacks Morocco. Like the Axis could have had one unit or something like that left in Africa after round one. Like this is the one game that Italy didn't end up making like 15 or 17 or whatever it is by the end of the
Right.
game. Really,
Right.
they
I think the
didn't
most they ever
really.
made was 12.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
All right, Doug. They've made you another gift.
uh oh.
This is
Allied edition.
the Thorpe thump.
Okay, I like it. There's other.
This is
This is the
the
Axis edition.
yes.
With the
Yes.
Dodge. I
What do we
love
got
it.
here? Yeah, these are all the American fighters.
Yep.
I like it. All right, so I'd like to introduce you to our new graphic design team.
That's right, exactly.
Right? Like you guys are too much.
Hey,
Uh,
there's one other thing you touched on, something that I think is interesting about this version, and I think we could talk about this a long time, but I want to at least put a question out there. Do we need to do this first?
oh my God, the Allies: ho, ha, ha, guard, turn, parry, dodge, build Gear Force One. You guys are insane. I like it.
Like,
You guys are too funny. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
so, uh-oh.
If you can dodge a Gear Force, you can dodge a ball. That's oh, that's the T-shirt right there. There you go. That's the shirt right there. You guys are
You put
insane.
the picture on the front, not on the back.
That's right. If you can dodge a Gear Force, you can dodge a ball. Tell your friends. Sorry, that. Go ahead. Say what you're
No.
gonna say.
Um, so I don't know how to ask this question or express this thought succinctly because it's kind of new in my brain. But when this game was designed, it was designed with two scenarios, right? There's the 41 and the
Right.
42 scenario. Now, one thing that's interesting is in the earlier editions of this, there's this weird thing going on in China where they kind of like has the Japanese and the Chinese symbol shared there. But that's not the case on the Japanese islands, right? The Philippines have an American symbol, and then the Bunny Islands have British symbols on them.
Right.
So what's interesting about this game is America cannot capture those money islands and the money go to them. It's very hard for America to make more money in this game. They can get the Philippines, which is 2 extra, but unless they get into Europe or, take over Tokyo or something, they're not really making extra money in this version. And
Right.
I think it's very different, one, but I wonder, is that just kind of like happenstance of when the game was designed, let's do two scenarios, and in the first scenario, these islands are British, so we're going to put a British symbol on it. or was it planned that way? Was it like, we don't want America to be able to make extra money, therefore we're putting British symbols on these? Does that question make sense?
It absolutely makes sense, and I don't have a good answer for that. I think it might be a tertiary side effect of having two scenarios on the same map.
That's kind of what
Um,
I think, but it's really interesting. Like, America is one of my favorite countries to play in the game, but this version is different because America just you can't make them more money in it.
well, and almost more important, like if you take one of the money islands, you can't build a complex there.
Complex there.
The
Yeah,
UK has to
exactly.
build it, and it's not like they've got the money to, typically anyway,
Yeah,
that they've got the
yeah.
money to do that. Um, but we got a good question here from somebody, Mr. Coffee. Forgive my ignorance, but if this is a silly question, no silly questions, only silly people. I'm still relatively new to ANA, but with the USSR's lower starting economy, is there a viable German going for UK first strategy?
Nope,
Uh,
there's not one. Doesn't exist.
that's a lie. You just did right there. That's a lie. That's not true. There is a viable UK kill UK first strategy here. We haven't happened to see it in this particular tournament, um,
Hmm.
but it does start. And I will say, when I saw that German carrier drop, I was like, "Are they really going to do a kill UK first strategy?" Because
I was
that's
hoping
usually
for
how that starts, is with with a German carrier drop.
it.
Um,
Hmm.
because they need to build up enough naval force and create enough range for the fighters to be able to get to the UK and then come back. But yes, there is a kill UK first strategy that can be very viable for this game, and it might be something fun to explore later on. Maybe when we do um, Gary and Doug versus the World Anniversary Edition, maybe that would be something that we would hope to see. Um, Yes, this is true, Carl, or Charles, rather. The U.S. has built an IC in Norway, so
Yeah. Hmm.
this is really the only place it seems like that the U.S. can pick up money they can take it from the Germans, right? So they can take Morocco, Algeria, they can pick up Libya from the Italians, they can land in Paris, but more likely they're probably to pick up Norway, which is worth three, and if they can get Finland, like in my fictional scenario, that's five IPCs per turn, and it's certainly worthwhile. Again, if you're real quick while I'm thinking about it, if you're here and you're enjoying the show and having a good time here and laughing at Gear Force One, whatever the hell that means, then hit that like button for us. And man, you guys are just the craziest people I've ever met. But I hope that answers your question. Yes, there is a kill UK first strategy. I have yet to see a successful kill US first strategy develop, but I would love to
I
see
would,
it.
I would love to be the allies and have someone try it, though. I'll say that.
Yeah, it would. It. I mean, I've had thoughts of how it would work, but man, even if you land in Canada, the Americans, they can build, what is it, 12 in the eastern United States, 10 in the western United States. Like the idea that you'd be able to crack that, particularly in a tournament game. Like if you could build it out so that you knew that you were going to be able to get there in 12 rounds, which is it'd probably take that long because you've got to build a shuttle of transports back and forth. Oh, and by the way, like London is probably still there and probably is trying to do something. Um,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
so Asher, man, I love a good segue. So what is what is Gary and Doug versus the world? Doug, tell them about it. Tell them about Gary and
Uh,
Doug versus the world. I'm excited about it. I can't
so,
wait.
so this came from what was it? Gary Kasparov versus the world, right?
Yeah.
Where different people would basically submit moves in a game against Gary Kasparov, and then the community would vote on what the best chess move is against him, and then he would reply. So it's very similar, but with Axis and allies. Gary and I are on one side of the board, and we have people appointed on the other side of the board who are the generals, right, of the different countries, and moves are submitted. We could do this, we could do this, here's the different options as far as like combat moves, and then the community is going to vote on which course they want to pursue. Now, um I guess they have to be submitted as a slate, right? You can't have, because combat moves could have a fighter going here, a fighter going there, so you can't really take this part of this one and this part of that one, because they could have conflicting results and conflicting units going in different places and stuff, right? I haven't really thought about that nuance till just now.
No, I mean it's
like if one
so
guy's like, let's take the Japan bomber here against the Flying Tiger in round one, and someone else is like, let's take it to Pearl Harbor. You'd either have to choose that one guy's entire set of moves or the other guy's
right.
entire set of moves. Yeah, that's what I
Correct.
was. Yeah,
Yes. So there'll be so basically we'll have a couple of generals and they'll submit a move that is a full slate of moves. And
yeah. It's like
and then
this is J1, and there'll be
yes.
multiple versions of J1.
Right. And then I want, Tom's move or Steve's move or whatever. And then that's what the folks will be voting for. And then I'll have a game set up in the studio and we'll have a down shot on it. And then when it's time, once the poll is closed, we'll basically create a members only live stream. So the final game, when we do the kind of a recap video like we've done for this, that final video will be available for everybody. But the probably 2 or 3 times a week is how frequently we'll be able to get in a turn, get in a move, because we have to leave time for the generals to come up with it and the people to vote on it. So we got to leave enough time for everybody to do that. So, but those will be member only. We'll throw them up in a live stream, and then we'll say, okay, these are the votes these are the orders that won. We'll execute those orders, roll for them, and then talk about our response, and then go from there. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be chaotic, I'm sure, and this will be the first time that we're doing it, so it's probably not going to be perfect the first time.
It'll be a learning experience. It'll be a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, we'll work it out. World is still minus 150. 175 Gear Force 1 is in effect. You guys, Charles, you're killing me, bro. Yes, Mr. Snow, yes. So we'll have a live physical game on the map. We had considered using like a tabletop simulator or something like that, and we might do that later down on the road. But I like the idea of the physical game because we can do cool camera things with it. It also gives me the ability. So it's a little bit of an inside cheat here for me. So one of the things that I do, obviously, you've seen me shoot a bunch of hundreds of photographs for an individual game, right? And if we're doing it this way, I can shoot the pictures along the way. And then when it's time to make the final video, all the stills are already done, which is like a big chunk of the production time in the video. Yes, a live physical game with a webcam over it. As soon as I find my webcam, we moved yesterday in the studio. We moved, and which is why we're in my den at the moment. And unfortunately, not only did we discover that the internet at the new studio is not fast enough to support a live stream. When we went to go find the webcam, we couldn't find the webcam either. So we're using the camera that's on my MacBook Pro, which is fine. It seems to be working okay.
It's probably like in the pocket of your pants you were wearing. You're like, let me put this here so I don't lose it.
It's exactly right. And there's an old joke about like, if you want to make sure that you lose something, put it someplace so that you don't lose it. It's like a curse that but you'll find it the moment you go buy one to replace it, and then immediately you'll find where it is. So, but I had somebody ask me in one of the comments what the process was for making these videos and how much time it took and how all that worked. I won't bore you with all the gory details, but planning for this started really March of last year, and we put together the team, and it took a couple months to find the right folks and to get Renegade back on board and explain to them what we wanted to do and to get the team in place. Again, I mentioned them in the video. I'm going to mention them again now. They were absolutely fantastic. Emily and who are the other people? Jon Bosch and and Eric Beem and Mitch Trantham, and they were all and Scott Palmer. They were all just fantastic. Did a great job for us, and we really hope that they're going to come back with us again next year. We will see how that all works out. But so we planned it and then bought a bunch of equipment, tested it all, and then took it all out there. And of course, we were there for 4 days, 5 days to record everything. And then we get it back to the studio, bring it into video editing. And while we were at Gen Con, by the way, between all the Access and Allies games and the Diplomacy Final and the Acquire Final and the Robo Rally Final, which we all also captured, we came home with about 6 terabytes worth of video to go through.
It's a lot of video.
It's a lot of video. Then we sorted it all and then started cutting it into raw footage of the games so that we could actually see what was going on. And we discovered that a couple of the games, unfortunately, early, like that very first round that we tried to record, which was actually round 1 of the tournament, some of the cameras were not set up properly, which was entirely my mistake. And I was, Emily was telling me the other day, we were talking about it, and the memory cards were not formatted correctly, which was the end problem. And I thankfully was sitting there and I was able to figure it out at the time. But apparently Emily said that my head and face and neck had never been more red than in that moment because I was seeing months of work just like explode in my face and couldn't figure out what the problem was. But thankfully we were able to work through it and get the rest of it recorded. But once we get it back to the studio, we cut it into the raw. We had some help from friends like Doug that took a couple of the games and helped with the annotation. Alex and Owen that won the 42 second edition tournament. They actually did all the annotation for their game, which was great. Super, super helpful. And then once we had that, then we cracked the game in the studio and we put it together. And that takes about a day to shoot one of these. It takes about 10 hours or so to take all of the still images from an individual game. And then put it all into, I use DaVinci Resolve for my video editing software, put it all into slides. Then Doug and I get on a call that looks a lot like this one. And we usually take 3.5 hours, 4 hours sometimes to talk through a game. 7, 9 hours, something like that. Week and a half, sometimes 2 or 3 sessions.
Kids are like, "Are you done yet? Come on!"
Right? They want to play Fortnite. Dad's taking the internet. But yeah, it's a. So then, once all that's put together, then we drop all those things together, and it takes about 25 to 30 hours to edit the video. At least that's how long it takes me to put it together. It's about 20 or 30 hours per video, which is better than last year. Last year it was taking me 40 to 50 hours per video. So I'm better. I'm faster at it now. But yeah, it's been a.
We're also better at saying smart things the first time.
Right. But I will say, let me ask this question to the folks that are on here. We really appreciate everybody being here. But one of the things that we found that was different for us was the 2023 World Championship was really about our story. It was us talking about our games and walking through our experience of the tournament and how it all worked out. This year, of course, other than the first game, this was us telling the stories of other games. And I wonder if that felt different to anybody, because it felt different to us, because it's easier, or not, I don't know, easier, but it's more engaging personally to tell your own story. And we were excited that we won, right? So it was fun to kind of go through that again. But I wonder if anybody has any thoughts about whether it made a difference to you that it was us telling someone else's story versus telling our own story. I'd be curious what anybody thought about that.
It was a lot easier to keep the games correct and straight in my mind when it was my own games. These games have blended together just a little bit. It's like, was that semifinal 1 or 2 or, you know?
Yeah, I had one week where I was shooting the stills for the final, editing the video for semifinal 1, and doing the walkthrough conversation with Doug for semifinal 2, all within like the same day and a half. And I had no idea. I couldn't see straight by the time that was done. So yeah, but anyway, so if anybody's curious what that looks like, that's kind of how that works out. I think each video, if you don't count the actual production time of going to Gen Con and recording the games and bringing all that back, each individual video from when they open them in the studio is probably 40 hours, 45 hours. And so it's quite a bit, but it's worth it. And I know you guys really like it. And we've been growing the membership, which is very, very helpful. So if you're out there and you want to support the kind of content that we make, and because it's not cheap to make and it takes a lot of time and effort, if it's something that you want to make sure it continues, think about hitting that join button. And but we've had so many super thanks today. We're super grateful for all of that. That's just been really kind of overwhelming. This is more super thanks than we've ever had. So very nice. I don't know about Gear Force One. We'll have to see what that you guys are.
Oh, it's here to stay, man. It's too late. It's too late.
Yeah. Okay, so here's somebody asking that question. Sasha, when it was your games, it was great that you guys could explain your reasoning and what other things you considered. That was the only difference that I clocked. Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point. At this point, all we could really do is speculate on what anybody else was doing. We did happen to have Dave Jensen from accessknowledge.org who jumped on. We did want, we try to have more people involved when we can, but the production schedule this time was just really, really tight. So, and when you involve another person in the conversation, it really lengthens the video.
Yeah, that's true.
This is why last year's final was a 2-part video, because we had Adam and John in that conversation, which was great. And I was thrilled to have them. I think they did a great job in the video, and they were super nice guys, and it was just really a pleasure to work with. But that's why it was a 2-part episode, because it was so long. Like all of a sudden I get to, like, I'm trying to edit it all together and it's 2.5 hours, and I'm like, I don't want to sit down and watch 2.5 hours, let alone, so it's tricky, but we do try to do it when we can. And we definitely will be doing that for the global tournament, or for the global final. We'll have a couple folks on that. There's no way that just thinking about how we're going to put that together and how much is going to be involved, there's no way. I'm almost certain that I don't know. I don't want to say this out loud yet, but it seems unlikely to me that that'll be able to be one video. That may end up being more than one video.
I was thinking the same thing. It's just a longer game. I don't even know how long that game went on for, but the games themselves can be 8 hours. So
yeah, I think regulation for that is, I think it's 9 hours for global and tournament play. I know there's a bunch of guys who played in it that are on here, but I think the limit in that game is 9 hours. But I don't want to talk about how that game ended. So if you were in that game and you were in the chat, please do not discuss the outcome of that game. No spoilers, please. No spoilers, please. All right, so we've got somebody from Perth. What? Welcome. Great to have you here. Thanks for being here, Oliver. All right, so, I think it's time for the drawing. Are we doing the drawing?
Let's do it.
Let's do the drawing. All right, let me get this situated over here. Hold on. Let me get this other stuff off my screen. We are at 61 members. I have withdrawn, I hope anyway, everyone that has already won. All right. And we still have 2 spots in here to add a prize and spin again. Oh, I took us off the screen.
That's okay.
All right. Oh, wait. All right. So what are we giving away? The global map. So if you like global, or you like maps, or you like signatures from Larry Harris, this is the prize for you. So here we go. We need a drum roll. All right. Global map. 1940, signed by Larry Harris, going to our favorite member for the day, Genie's Eclectica. All right, friends. So guys, you're not going to believe this. This is too funny. This is awesome.
What's awesome?
Genie's Eclectica is my sister-in-law.
Uh-oh.
who saw that I launched the memberships. She watches the channel. Thank you, Jeannie. Love that. But I know she's just a member because she's supporting me, and I love that, and she's fantastic for it. But I can promise you that she is going to have no use for a global map. So we are going to. She doesn't play Axis and Allies. So I should have taken her off the list earlier. That's my mistake. So good news, friends. You still have a chance to win. It's not rigged. I'm putting it back. General Sap, leave me alone. We're putting it back. All right. So we're going back to them. We're going back. We're going to spin it again. We're spinning again. Here we go. This has been a crazy, crazy live stream. All right. We need the drum roll again. All right. No more relatives in the wheel this time. Oh, hey, all right. Great T. He's taken home the global map this time. We're going to remove him from the list so he will not win again. And we will, Cray, make sure that you reach out to me in the on the Discord and let me know how to get this over to you. We appreciate all the support that you've had for the channel, and it's very nice that you. I'm glad that you were able to take that home. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And man, this has been a great live stream, guys.
I thought Bosch was going to win it. Looks like it was going to land on him.
So did I. I was like, so wait, hold on. So my sister-in-law won the first time. We spun again, and the moderator wins the second time. I was like, I got nothing but love for you, brother. And I appreciate you being a member. That's awesome. I'm like, this is not going great. I'm like, we got to think about this giveaway thing again. Craig T, congratulations, my friend. You are reach out in the Discord, and we will find a way to get you that map. And yes, Pino, thank you for joining. We'd love to have you. We got lots of stuff. Oh, this is great. So Jamie, again, one of our moderators, my wife, I'm telling my sister she got thrown out of the prize giveaway. See, guys, now like I'm in trouble at Thanksgiving. Like I don't know. I'll give her a couple of roll.
List, man, you got to bet that list.
I know. I should have looked at this, but I'll get her a copy of Photosynthesis. She loves that game. We played it a couple times. If you haven't played Photosynthesis, man, great game. Great game. I think it's a lot of fun. And we got a new member, Pino. Thank you for becoming a member. That is fantastic. We love seeing new members, and I love your profile picture. That's a lot of fun. Our next big threshold for giveaways is going to be at 80 members. We've got 5 new members, 6 new members today, which is great. And we did get that new general, which was great. Let me make sure that he gets. Let me bring that up real quick. So if we can get to 80 members, then we will give away a whole bunch of stuff. That's a big threshold for us. So we're excited about that one. I don't remember what we said. I had it all in my brain when we were at the studio, but it's a big one. Henry Warman, that's our new general. Henry, thank you very much for becoming a general. We appreciate that, and we're super excited about everything that's going on right now. YouTube tells me that we got 68 members. So if we can get 12 more by the time we get to our next live stream, which will probably be in a couple, 3 weeks maybe, we'll have to see how the global video comes together. That's going to be a ton of work. So if I said that those other ones are taking 40 hours, this one's going to take more than that. So I appreciate your patience with us. And we got another member. Fantastic. Thank you very much. DB number 3. DB the third? DBIII? I don't know, however you want to say it. We're happy to have you on here as a member. And you've got a cute
Maybe it's
pooch there.
DBI1L.
DB ill.
L. Well, or just L, 1I. Just could be anything.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, so thank you very much for joining today. And we got all those new members. That's fantastic. And the super chats, you're all very, very generous today. We really appreciate that. We had a great series. We really had some fun live streams over this World Championship Series. And I'm super excited about where we're going and what we've got coming up. The Discord channel is going bonkers. We've got hundreds of people in there now from all over the world. There's some folks in South Korea that are in the Seoul area that are really looking for some folks to play. There's people in California and New York and Chicago, and we're really excited about it. So we got another member. Fantastic. David Whitfield. Thank you very much for joining. Very, very kind. Lots of fun things ahead. One of the things that we didn't talk about at all was the Theater Commanders thing. This is another big special event that we've got coming up this spring, which is basically a way for, I think, 18 or 20 people to play Axis and Allies in the same game at the same time, which is going to be pretty crazy, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll talk more about that as we get close to her, but it's pretty great. So I'm excited about it. So it should be a lot of fun. And I've just been told that there's somebody that's got an order for like 50,000 plush. We have a pending order of 50,000 Air Force themed plushes with Gary's head. No. Okay, whatever. You guys do what you do. You put yourself on the internet and you're not, there's no saying what can be done after that. But my lovely bride has brought us back to reminding me that if you're going to pre-order Stalingrad, or if you're going to order any of the deluxe maps that you saw in the in any of the videos that we've done so far, make sure that you're using our link when you go to Renegade. We do get a commission for that, and it certainly does help. So make sure that you're grabbing that link right there. And if you haven't been over to the Discord server, and I know that not everybody has Discord, I'm telling you, as a guy who spends way too much time on social media, Discord is the easiest interface, right? You log in, you go to the channel that you want, and the invite will take you right there. If you've not signed up for Discord, it's super easy. You don't need to put in a bunch of information. I think it's just an email address, and you're in. And then from there, you can pick which things you want to talk about and go to those. It's more like a giant bulletin board forum than a true social media site. But it's really good for connecting people and finding places to play and people to play with and all that stuff, which is why we picked that platform for this particular thing. And something else that we didn't talk about at all today, we've been on forever, and when we didn't get to talk about this thing, was the idea of tournaments and what we want to do with that moving forward. I think there's a lot of fun options. So we're gonna get. It's been a crazy week. Finished the video, had to move the studio, had to move to the den to do the live stream this week. So I appreciate you being patient with us, but we've got some very cool things coming up, and we're really excited to get that out to everybody. But Doug, any thoughts for the people?
No, this was a good one. This was a lot of fun. Air Force One won the day. Air Force One won. I mean, it's pretty good.
Oh well. I'll take it. It is what it is. Yes. Yep. All right. So again, head over to the Discord server. Conversation continues over there. I'll probably pop in a little bit, but I need to fall down for a little while. And tomorrow I'm going to take my wife to dinner that doesn't involve sitting in my studio. I'm going to call my mother I'm going to call my grandkids and talk to them for a little while tomorrow, and and relax for just a little bit. And then on Monday we'll go back to trying to find the webcam and and unpacking the rest of the studio. I put some pictures in the Discord server of the current state of the studio. It's let's just call it a work in progress. So we'll see what's out there. One other thing that I wanted to do real quick, and this is something Doug and I talked about earlier today. We are not the only Access and Allies channel out there. Our friends at Historical Board Gaming put out a list in a mass email that they sent out that had a bunch of a lot of channels on it that we were familiar with, but a couple that we were not. So they sent out Admiral Seabass, who does Global War, and Bob Hatcher does a Mountaineer game, Captain G, Flak 88, General Hand Grenade, that's a big one. I'm a big fan of his channel. He does really nice work. Global War 36, which is a particular version of the game. Hambone HQ, they do a lot of BBR content. So if you want to know more about BBR, Hambone HQ does a lot. They're actually, I think they've got an event this week in Atlanta. So that's certainly worth checking out. Hilltop Pillbox does a lot of great stuff. Knights Templar, I have not seen that one before. The Loyal Praetorian, I've not seen that either. Mark the Shark, I don't know that one. Sky Marshal, I've not seen their stuff. I have seen Triple Crown and War Doctor. So there are a lot of folks on this list here. So if you're looking for that, there's another one that's Manix, Manix. He does a ton of content for 1942 online. DMZC, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. I just got a notification that they've got a Friday night live stream as well. DZMC Podcast and Gaming Channel. They do a Friday night blitz they do a 42 online game. So anyway, so lots of really cool stuff. And yes, we'll post that link we'll post that list in the Discord server, and I might actually be able to find I'll be able to pull the links out of HBG's email, and I'll drop those over there when we get done here tonight. Corporal Clag, absolutely. He does he does really great analytics. So he's got a great video about the math for cruisers. He's got a great video about the math around AA guns. Tanks versus artillery. He's got a really good video about that, and just really, really good at the math of it all. Also, and thank you, Robin. Another reminder: there's a great tournament coming up in Con of the North. Robin is hosting. Correct me if I got this wrong, Robin. I think you've got a 1942 event and a global event. Do you have an anniversary game there? Maybe. We'll have to see. So yeah, let us know. So and you'll find information about the Con of the North event in the Discord server. Head over to the events tab, and you'll be able to find those events listed there. So Greg put out an email today about Greg Smorek. He's the guy who runs the events at Gen Con. He put out an email today. They do not have dates yet for the spring gathering, and which is normally Father's Day weekend, but apparently will not be happening on Father's Day weekend this year. So they can't go a week later because then it conflicts with Origins, which a lot of people go to, which is in Columbus. But they may be moving up a week or two. We'll have to see. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. But so there is not an anniversary event at Con of the North, but you can play 42 Second Edition. You can play Global. So there's still plenty of things that would be a lot of fun to do there. But all right, I think that is going to wrap it up for us, man. It's been a heck of a season, and we really, really appreciate everybody hitting that like button for us on your way out the door, and subscribing and joining. And man, it's just been a great live stream. And I've got a new moniker. Apparently, we've created a new thing. It's made enough noise about the Russian fighter that somebody came up with a nickname for it. I'll take it. All right, awesome. Gen Con badges go on sale this week, I'm pretty sure. So you want to get your badge, but then tickets for the World Championship and all the Access and Allies events will go on sale later this spring. I think they go on sale in April. I'll have more information about that and make sure everybody knows how to get involved in that. But you guys have been fantastic tonight and throughout this month. So many people have watched the videos and commented and subscribed and joined, and the super thanks and stickers and everything else. So, Doug, thank you very much for being with me through this entire thing. Thank you to your lovely bride and boys for letting us borrow you for the duration of this extravaganza. So thank you to Jamie and to John and to Emily for helping moderate and keeping track of what's going on over in the Discord server. So, oh yeah, Robin, thank you. Badges go on sale February 9th for Gen Con. So we got about another week and a half or so. But Dave, thank you for being a member. Robin and Pino for joining, and Shane. I think one of the nicest comments, I've been trying to think of like a comment of the week because we've kind of something we've been doing. And one of the nicest comments that I got was on this latest video. It was, this is one of those channels where you hit the like button before you watch the video. And I thought that was really nice, and I really, really appreciate that. So very kind. And we've got more to come. So stick around for Doug versus the World and Theater Commanders and Global and the U.S. National Diplomacy final. So lots of fun things to still come. So hang in there. We're going to take a little bit of a breather while we work on the rest of these projects, and I put my desk back together and take it out of my den. But we'll be back with more. So Doug, any other thoughts?
No, this was a good one, man. Thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed all these videos and looking forward to the ones coming in the coming months.
Outstanding. Well, that'll do it for us tonight, and we really, really appreciate everybody's time and energy throughout the series, and we will see you again real soon. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Bye, everybody.